Farnsworth has been predatory towards me on multiple occasions. He's been violent in front of me towards others and been violent towards myself. I just saw his sister today. I've seen her on multiple occasions. Um, where did the issues with Ashley start off? Well, she told me about the cops slandering my name to her. And she was going to help me. She just needed some money. As soon as she got the money, she disappeared. And, well, that was well over a month ago, I'm sure. Anyway, she disappeared with my $20. No big deal. At least I know her content and character. The next day, I saw her when I was going over there to see another feller who was going to help me. And he didn't show up. That's not entirely true. It's recorded. I went there on multiple occasions and honked like he told me to, just nobody showed up. So Miss Farnsworth, her boyfriend, was there, and he talked nice to me. And then she showed up and got a real shitty attitude with me. Fuck it. But she had let me know that her brother, Robert Farnsworth, was diagnosed as not just being schizophrenic, but also delusional. And also that he had narcissistic rage and homicidal tendencies. Homicidal tendencies means that he tries to kill people. Not hard to believe. He's also not very big. Years of drug use have definitely worked him over. Anyway, I saw Miss Farnsworth on that day when I was waiting on Brian. And, of course, Brian told me later on that he was there, he came out, but I was gone already. Which time? I showed up there like 3 times. Miss Farnsworth showed up while her boyfriend was talking to me. He was wondering why I was there. I explained I was there to see Brian. And then that's when Ashley Farnsworth showed up and was yelling at me and yelling at her boyfriend for talking to me. So then, let's fast forward. I saw her either yesterday or the day before at the library. Did my best to ignore her and pretend she doesn't exist. She also made sure to cross the road real slowly in front of me to make sure I knew that she existed. So, yep. Today I saw her boyfriend and he was nice to me. He always is. He doesn't start any shit. He always talks to me like I'm a person. He gave me some cigarette butts. Matter of fact, I just smoked one of them. Ashley came out. She's got her hot pink hair still. It's kind of a pinkish purple. And she fucking snapped at him. He wasn't talking to me. I was talking to him. He walked around the corner and he had a cart. And she fucking snapped at him. She said, "Why are you talking to this person? Let's go." Like, fuck, ain't no way to treat a person, is it? Now, of course, lots of people don't like being recorded. They don't like being posted on the internet. They certainly don't like that I post up the truth. There's a lot of drug addicts that admitted to being drug addicts, knowing that I record everything and that I am recording, told me that they were addicted to drugs and on drugs, and then later on wanted to be angry with me because they admitted they were addicted to drugs and on drugs. Like, no, it don't work that way. So today, when her boyfriend gave me a couple of, well, they're snipes. They're not whole cigarettes, but he wasn't mean to me. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't name calling. She certainly was as soon as she saw me sitting there. There's a few employees there at the Safeway that if they saw her doing that, would tell her not to come back. So it's a good thing that Ashley Farnsworth did not get busted treating me like that by some of the other employees. A lot of violence does go down at Safeway. I mean, her brother, Robert, one of the times he got beat up was at Safeway. That's just one of the times that I'm aware of. That little 14-year-old girl who was assaulted by the sheriff's department deputy, that was in the Safeway parking lot. Fuck it, right? Who cares? Well, all of you should care. And Miss Farnsworth, she's one of many people that I have to worry about seeing. I have to worry that she'll pull something mean, cruel, or vindictive. And I have to worry that she'll bully her boyfriend into doing something mean too. And obviously he ain't the kind of guy who wants to do anything mean. Same with me. A lot of people try to bully me into doing mean shit. No, if I do mean shit, it's because you're bullying somebody. You don't fucking like it, then don't do it to others. You don't like it when I do it? You didn't have any problems when you were doing it. There was no moral conundrum there when you were doing it. There was no, oh, it's straight up wrong when you were doing it. It's only wrong when people do it back to you. And that's the moral of my fucking story. Sure, it's fine and dandy to threaten to kill me and my friends and family. You're allowed to do that. Just call me mentally ill and you can get away with it. But if I say anything that you can even construe as me threatening your friends or family, or yourself, you will fucking go straight to the cops, whining with your fucking tail between your legs, bleeding out your goddamn manginas. Oh no, I'm afraid of Sean because he busted me lying. Oh, poor me. Yeah, poor you. Don't steal from people. Don't rip people off. Don't make empty promises. Don't blame other people for your fuck-ups. That's one of the things that a lot of people wanted to do with me. Blame me for their fuck-ups. Like, no, you chose not to do your job as mandated reporters. You chose to assault me or to take advantage of my financial situation. You don't get to blame me for your decisions, and I fess up to mine. That's right, folks. I fess up to all my shit. If I didn't fess up to it, you wouldn't have caught me doing anything. Meanwhile, the only times I broke the law is when people's lives were in danger. But do any of you want to pay attention to that? No, the fuck you don't. Now, with Miss Farnsworth and her meanness towards me, it's not necessary. And she's one of those people that was telling me about what the cops did to her. You goddamn right I speak out about that. Even if she doesn't like me, it's still not alright for Officer Loftman to be telling her he's going to bend her over the hood of his squad car. On the bright side, I do speak out. I do my best to record everything I can. With Ashley Farnsworth not liking me, I'm not too worried about what she'll do. I gotta be worried about what she'll try to convince others to do. Now, she's got access to drugs, which means that she's got access to drug addicts. And if she's got access to drug addicts, she's got access to people who will do stupid shit for drugs. She's got access to the drugs and to the addicts. So, do I need to worry about Ashley? Yes. I have to worry about every drug addict in town as well. Natalie Bollinger stabbed me in the back over her drug addictions. over what her predators wanted, because she did care about her predators. She absolutely did. They were familiar to her. These are familiar people in her life. How many of you, after years and years of being abused by your parents, still talk to your parents? How many of you, once you became adults, had to do the whole let bygones be bygones because, well, now you're big enough that your brother is too little to beat you up and rape you, and his wife keeps him too occupied to do so anyway. So you play friendly so you can see your nieces and nephews. Then again, what are the chances that he'll do that to his own kids? Robert Farnsworth, I have to worry about him. I also have to worry about several other people in town who feel bad for him because they were friends with him before he went fucking schizo. I also have to worry about his mother, who has already screamed profanity at me on multiple occasions, flipped me off, and tried pulling the whole, oh, poor him, he's mentally ill. I don't give a fuck. He's got actual diagnoses. His actual diagnoses are the dangerous mentally ill. My diagnoses make me more likely to be victimized. His diagnoses also make him more likely to be victimized. People are not likely to listen to Robert Farnsworth if he is victimized, just because they know he's schizophrenic. If I wanted to, I could have hurt him badly and gotten away with it. Now, why didn't I? Because after he bashed his face off of my forehead, he didn't try any more violence. He tried to get violent just once, and I flinched, and that was the end of the story as far as the violence goes. Well, kid's screaming. Anyway, with Ashley Farnsworth and her crap today, I do have to worry about that every time. I also have to worry about possible situations with Christian, and I'm also worried about Christian because nobody's seen him in over a month. I also got to worry about Chris because he's been trying to get himself a gun. So now he's trying to tell stories to convince people to sell him a gun. He says that he can legally own a gun, even though he's a convicted felon, because he paid a certain stamp here in the state of Oregon that allows felons to own guns. God, what's Chris's last name? It's on my channel. It's also on my other phone, so I could probably look it up in there. Let me see. There's no Chris in my phone? That can't be right. Well, apparently it's not in this phone. It'll be in my flip phone, though. Starts with a B. Chris Barrington or something like that. He cleans the 101 coin-op laundry. Anyway, there's another lady in town here who's a drug addict, and her name is Amanda, and he claims that Amanda held a gun to his head and made him drive all around, and he had to stop where his parents are buried or his grandparents are buried or something like that, and he was going to have her shoot him there if she was going to do it. That way they wouldn't have to take him far to bury him and some other stuff like that. And then he was running around telling people that she's got chlamydia and all sorts of other stuff. You know, small town stuff. Somebody doesn't give you what you want, you go talking smack. He also said he followed Chris. That was the last I heard of Chris. Or sorry, Christian. Chris said that he was following Christian around, and then now Christian's nowhere to be found. And of course, Chris wants to buy a firearm from Dallas Palmer. Now Dallas is trying to get a hold of me to get Chris's number. Like, oh, I'm not going to give you Chris's number. He's telling me he's a felon and that he's allowed to own firearms. What does he need to go trying to get one black market for? Under the table, like? No. Not cool. Anyway, with Ashley Farnsworth and all of her stuff, and of course, Chris at the laundromat with his stuff, and then of course there's Amanda, who's not happy with me because she's on my channel too. And because I said some not nice things. But you know what? There's a reason I said those not nice things, and she knows it. Despite that fact right there, if Chris is going to tell me people are pulling guns on him, I'm going to speak up about it. Also, if he's going to run around and claim she's got chlamydia and try to slander her that way, regardless of the fact that she's a drug addict and admits that she's a drug addict and that she still uses, despite the fact that she said that if she thought her boyfriend was emotionally cheating on her, that she'd go have sex with all his friends, get it on video, and send it to him. The thing is, she doesn't deserve that wrath. She doesn't deserve to have people running around saying that she's got chlamydia and she's trying to spread it around. She doesn't deserve to be having people run around claiming that she was pointing a gun at their head if it wasn't true. And I certainly don't want to be the one to help Chris to get a firearm when the potential for something hazardous or dangerous or worse happening is astronomical. I mean, once he's run around and spread these rumors that she's got chlamydia and that she pointed a gun at his head and that he was getting a protection order and not a protection order, getting a trespassing so she can't go to the laundromat or to the car wash. Well, then if he runs into her somewhere else, if he's got a firearm, he can point it at her, force her to do his bidding, and then blow her head off and say, hey, I was afraid for my life. She pointed a gun at me before. Obviously, I wouldn't have sex with her. I didn't want to get chlamydia. I mean, you don't stop to see how quickly something like that can end up real messed up for either party. There's also the fact that he wants to share all this information about it with me, but then he doesn't want to do the legally right thing to do. And then he does want to do the legally messed up thing to do. If she pulled a fucking gun on you, you turn that shit in. You make sure that she doesn't get to pull a gun on somebody else. You make sure she doesn't blow somebody's fucking head off. That's what you fucking do. You don't play victim. That's just going to piss them off. When you do something stupid, now the way that this situation has presented itself to me, it seems like she told him no, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So she made sure he took no for an answer. And he don't fucking like it. He don't like being challenged. He's spoken on many, many, many occasions about how violent he is. He spoke about recent violent activities and recent threats against people to those people's kids in front of me. It is recorded. And then he wants to tell me the stories of him being violent in his youth. I tell him that shit freaks me out. I don't like hearing that stuff. He tells me, oh, I'm not like that anymore. And then, of course, that lady came in and he wanted to talk about how he was going to be forced to beat up her dad. Like, no, dude, no. Fuck this small town fucking bullshit. I don't have to like Amanda. Despite that, I actually do like Amanda. Whether she's the victim or the predator in this situation is arbitrary, because she's definitely a victim, and she might be a predator on top of it, but she's still the victim. Now, if she pulled a gun on Chris, then of course she should go to prison for that. She should have her rights to a firearm taken away. But at the same time, Chris has had his rights to a firearm taken away. And there's a reason for that. It's because he's violent. And like I told you about violent people, the ones who say that cops is bad, they're the first ones to call the cops. How many times has Chris called the cops? At least 4 times in my presence, and at least 4 other times where police showed up and he came back and explained to me that he had to call the cops on Amanda. Now, I did ask him, I said, have you had any problems with Amanda since that gun situation? No, he hasn't even seen her. He's just trying to cover his bases. He hasn't said anything about her threatening him or sending him harassing text messages or anything of that nature. Hadn't said anything about her calling him up and saying that she's going to harm him and his entire family or anything like that. No, he's just busy making sure that he covers his bases by trying to destroy her words. Yes, she's a drug addict. That doesn't mean she's wrong. Matter of fact, she's tiny and easy to overpower. Chris is twice my size, easily. She's half my size. She's probably 90 pounds soaking wet, if that. Maybe 85 pounds. He could break her in half on accident. In order for her to defend herself against him, she would have to have a gun. Sure, you can watch Wonder Woman all you fucking want, but the reality is you're not Wonder Woman, and neither is she. Now, the situation with Ashley Farnsworth. That's a very scary situation for me, the same way that the situation could be scary for Chris and Amanda. I mean, in that situation, I don't know which side to take. What I do know is that it puts everyone at risk, not finding out who it is that is the risky person, who it is that is the violent person or the harmful person. She's small. That doesn't mean that she's not violent or violent-minded. I know a lot of women who have convinced men to harm other men. A lot of them. Just because they didn't get what they wanted. One woman was bragging on her TikTok and her YouTube. A woman I know. Bragging on her Twitter and TikTok and all that other stuff. That's not okay. Bragging about doing horrible things. Bragging about having her cousins beating up her ex. Bragging about it, saying, yeah, I just let my cousins, insinuated to my cousins that he might come touch me. What was the reality of the situation? They had a custody battle and she lost. So she had her cousins go beat the guy up. Beat him up bad enough he went to the hospital. With Ashley Farnsworth and the situation with her family, with the situation with her mom and her brother. The guy I feel the worst for isn't actually me. It's Ashley Farnsworth's boyfriend. He's the one I feel the worst for. He's not interested in conversation or in confrontation. He's not interested in drama or bullshit. He just wants to be good to people. Whether he's an addict or not is arbitrary because he's not showing addict. Ashley Farnsworth is showing me addict. Chris at the Quainop Laundry is showing me addict. Amanda is showing me addict. They're acting like addicts. And all addicts are narcissists. You cannot be a drug addict and not be a narcissist. But you can be a drug user without being a narcissist. You can drink on the weekends and not be a narcissist. You can go out drinking just on Friday night when you and your wife have your weekly date. You and your wife could polish off the entire bottle of wine and it doesn't make you a narcissist. But the selfishness that it takes to drink every day, to do drugs every day, to the detriment of everyone and everything else in your life, that takes an extreme level of selfishness. The level of selfishness that Alicia Bollinger holds. A level of selfishness that gets your loved ones killed. A level of selfishness that Ted Bollinger holds. A level of selfishness. Looks like someone calling himself John Kowalski wants to type a bunch of stuff here. Just another troll. So what do we do with trolls? How to use her on this channel. Pretty easy to do. The guy wanted to type about doing drugs and stuff with his disabled wife. You know, I don't need that kind of trolling on here. It's stupid. Anyway. That young lady who Chris had a crush on was saying that she'd marry her in a heartbeat. He'd marry her in a heartbeat. He'd marry her in a heartbeat. Well, apparently she didn't have the same thing going on with Chris. Chris didn't deserve that. Did he? Whose fault is it? Who's to blame in this situation? Doesn't matter who's to blame. What matters is that we're all unsafe because of that situation. With Chris repeatedly trying to purchase a gun from Dallas Palmer, Dallas already told him no. Now Dallas is getting a hold of me wanting Chris's number. The only thing that they talked about, as far as I'm aware of in my presence, is that firearm. Dallas told him repeatedly that he didn't want to sell it, but now, maybe Dallas changed his mind. Maybe Dallas needs the money. Regardless, I don't want anything bad happening to Ashley Farnsworth. I don't want anything bad happening to Robert Farnsworth. I don't want anything bad happening to Amanda. I don't want anything bad happening to Chris. And I am worried sick for Christian. I don't want to give a shit about any of these fucking people. I would like to be as selfish as they are. I would like to not give a fuck about other human beings. I would like to not give a shit about Chris's safety. I would like to not give a shit about Ashley's safety. I'd like to not give a shit about Robert's safety. I'd like to not give a shit about any of their safety, but the fact is, I do have to worry about their safety. Because I know these people. And I know that anything that happens to them is going to come back on me, as it always does, just because I know them. Where was I when Natalie Bollinger got her brains blown out? I was only 5 blocks away. Where was I when Rayanne Ingersoll died in a different state? Where was I when Mobley died in a different state? Where was I when Christine Bouhit died? In prison in a different state. Where was I when Selena Not Afraid disappeared, ended up dead? In a different state. Where was I when Anna Hunka died? In a different state. Where was I when Rory Jeffson died? In a different state. Despite the fucked up shit that Christine Bouhit did, I still loved her. And I still miss her now that she's dead. Same thing with Mobley, aka Stephen McMillian. Same thing with Stephen Green. Anna Hunka too. The thing is that I'm real good about sniffing out bullshit. And I'm real good about knowing when a situation is fucking dangerous. I knew how dangerous the situation was in Hardin, Montana. I knew how dangerous the situation was in Chesapeake, Virginia. I knew how dangerous the situation was in Rawlins, Wyoming. I knew how dangerous the situation was in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I know how dangerous the situation is because I've lived enough life to be able to figure it out. I pay attention, unlike most of you. And I actually care, unlike most of you. Ashley Farnsworth can kiss my ass. Robert Farnsworth. I know well enough that his mental issues get himself and others physically harmed. I know that the psychological damage created by the police not wanting to do their fucking jobs in that situation has harmed more than one person mentally and destroyed our faith in the quote-unquote criminal justice system. With the repeated assaults that people have told me about that Mr. Farnsworth has had to deal with, as well as the multiple occasions where he has assaulted somebody in front of me, I know that not only are we unsafe with Robert Farnsworth out here, but Robert Farnsworth is unsafe being out here. If he has an episode, people are going to jump to violence. Most people will, anyway. Despite the fact that I'm scared shitless of the dude, if somebody fucking starts hauling off and whooping his ass, I'm still gonna fucking say something because he's still a fucking person to me. Even if he is quote-unquote mentally ill. Knowing what his quote-unquote mental illnesses are, knowing his diagnoses, allows me to make better decisions in how I interact with him. I don't want him getting hurt. I don't want people to hurt him. Oh yeah, and both of those statements, I've made them before. and had them used to pretend like I was threatening to hurt people. Goddamn, y'all are some stupid pieces of shit for allowing this stuff. And now that it's coming back to bite you in the ass, you want to bitch that, well, you're bitching about the same shit I was bitching about 7 years ago. Now that it's happening to you, it's not so fun, is it? You're not so fucking supportive, are you? No, you're fucking not. You're cowards. You could have spoken up when it happened to me, but you didn't, and now it's happening to you. I suppose you should probably paid attention in school. Look up the name Martin Niemöller, or look up the poem that he wrote called When They Came. It's about the Nazis. What happens when you look the other way? They come for the disabled and the homeless first. Always.